Issue 234. We start out with Elias explaining that he's living with his family because he knows the wary citizens don't want him there when they support Ixis instead. So narration expresses confusion over why the people support Nagas if they love Elias enough to have a huge turnout at his farewell party. Instead of this being explained, it's just lampshaded as the narration says that tomorrow the Freedom Fighters will provide an escort to make sure Ixis and Jeffrey won't try anything. Sonic talks to a wrist phone contacting Tails and Amy on Tornado 2, and Antoine and Bunny are riding airboards near Elias as well. Suddenly, the Death Egg shows up, and Amy lampshades, how does he keep hiding that thing? Good point considering how large it is. It sends some robots at Sonic, who calls them upgraded egg palms when they don't look much like it. And Sonic tells Tails to clear the way for the cruiser as he fights the robots, who he calls badniks when they don't have animals trapped inside them. Tails provides cover from the air with his plane gunfire, and Amy fights any robots on the plane itself. Oh, I guess it was Antoine talking. So what's the point of this constant narration in the future tense? Well, we're gonna kind of see that later. Antoine and Bunny are providing backup for Sonic despite their lack of usefulness, with Bunny being really disappointed that she doesn't have an arm cannon anymore. Because, really? This is so arbitrary because we saw a version of Bunny, or at least Bunny's daughter, with Janica, who has an arm cannon attached to her arm without needing cyborg limbs. Not to mention, Bunny was doing that in the Other End fan comic that Flynn wrote. So why the hell can't Rotor just make an arm cannon for her to wear that has her hand sticking out of it? But no. I mean, they're halfway there they're like a sixth of the way there with her having an airboard to make up for the fact that she can't go really fast with her cyborg legs anymore. Just then, Metal Sally gets made to fly the Tornado 2, says that children don't belong on the battlefield, and destroys the plane with a laser blast, with Tails saving Amy from falling as a result. Then Sonic gets attacked by Metal Sonic, and Bunny, who's stupidly trying to fight anyways to help him, gets attacked by Metal Sally, who lampshades how she's no threat. She's not supposed to be a complete dumbass. Why is she being so stubborn? Rotor didn't even give her a laser shooting ray gun or anything? Oh no, that'd be violent. I never want to make weapons again. Ugh. Linda tells Eggman in surprise that the primary target is unprotected, so they have a clear shot. Somehow, some way, all of the lasers miss. And Snively says that it's a targeting scrambler. Did you plan for that? Oh, for that. So the vehicle has a targeting scrambler. Well, that was a convenient Deus Ex Machina that I could have been told about earlier. I guess that would have decreased the tension though. Eggman decides to have Metal Sonic latch onto the vehicle and self-destruct because he can just rebuild them. Sonic is too busy with Metal Sally, who lampshades how he's trying to rationalize with someone with no free will. So he calls out with his wrist phone that someone has to stop Metal Sonic from getting to the cruiser because Elias and his family's lives are at risk. Why hasn't Sally destroyed his wrist phone to prevent him from doing this? I know it's coming here and I'm not looking forward to it. Antoine goes to fight Metal Sonic. Let me repeat that. Antoine goes to fight Metal Sonic, despite Elias lampshading how ridiculous he's being. Because, reckless or not, there's really no one else to do it here, and God forbid Sonic just run away from Metal Sally and speed up to the vehicle at the speed of sound himself. Where the hell's Bunny in all this? Why didn't she have a device of Rotors to try to fend off Metal Sonic with lasers or something? If Rotor Tails had been smart and just re-cyborgized Bunny, she would have been able to prevent what's going to happen next. Instead, Sonic arbitrarily is the only one who can stop it, and he doesn't. Speaking of arbitrariness, Snively's about to object to Eggman deciding to blow Metal Sonic up on Antoine for some unexplained reason. So this is the point where Antoine gets kinda killed off. Technically, he stays in a coma for the rest of the comic, but because Flynn never bothered to have him wake up because one panel would be too hard, they basically murdered him here. You don't do that to a main character in a kid's comic. I mean, with all the dark stuff that happened before, like nuclear missiles hitting Rotopolis and that issue with Penders with guns and drugs and blood, those writers still never stooped to this. I'd like to point out that Jeffrey got an explosion from a bomb right in his face once and wasn't even injured. And Sonic got an explosion from a robot struck by lightning, and the worst that happened was he was knocked out and lost his super speed somehow. Both explosions were pretty damn close to the characters, but oh, this time there's consequences. I'd be fine with this if he at least woke up later. After all, he's useless anyway, so it's not like he can shoot lasers out of his eyes or anything. So better him than anyone else. But because they basically kill him off, And Flynn was literally planning to do that as his original idea for this story until the fan reaction for Sally dying caused him to change his mind. Hopefully you can understand why this is a terrible decision. I wonder if Flynn really didn't like him as a character. Then out of complete nowhere, Eggman decides to just leave because he's happy with settling for what he did to Antoine. Snively lampshades that they have the freedom fighters on the ropes and would have destroyed Elias and his family. But through the power of plot holes, Eggman is forced to give up. He says their spirits will be crushed, and after 10 years he's not pushing his luck. Since when does Eggman not push his luck? Snively naturally lampshades, of all the stupid things you've done, this is the most idiotic. You know, having a giant idiot ball woman lampshaded by a character doesn't make it good writing. It just makes it all the more obvious because if you knew it was stupid, you shouldn't have written it to happen. Snively decides that he's tired of Eggman and it's time to finally take him down. Yeah, except that won't happen because Eggman's the main villain of the series, and games, God forbid. Meanwhile, as Metal Sally launches away, Sonic looks devastated and simply tells Elias to get going without fully explaining anything. The story ends with Sonic bringing Antoine to the doctor at the speed of sound. In the second story, which happens before the main one, Ixis uses a purple Chaos Emerald to make a Skype call to Eggman because people can do that with purple Chaos Emerald staffs apparently. And he says that he has information on when he will have his next best shot at destroying the Freedom Fighters. So this is how Eggman knew that Elias was leaving the city and this was the time to strike. But before he says that, he says that he wants to know what Eggman recalls of Ixis' first meeting with Robotnik. Eggman talks about how he went into the Zone of Silence as Eggmobile to see how Kodos and the King were doing, snarking amusingly, "This doesn't seem so bad. Boring, really." This is when Feist first found him. What's confusing is that we see Robotnik here and not Eggman, who's a completely different person. Or maybe we are seeing Eggman and that's just how he used to look before he roboticized himself and ended up with the look he has now in this dimension. One of Ixis' minions brought Eggman to Ixis, and Ixis just glosses over the fact that they had many adventures together in the Zone of Silence, which were never even alluded to in the earlier issues of the comic with him having a disappearance or anything. Despite Ixis' magic, Eggman was still somehow able to contact Snively with a satellite dish thing and arrange for him to summon him back. Before he could come back home, he made sure to destroy Ixis' throne with a laser. Eggman says he wonders what Feist did with all of the egg grapes, but enragingly enough, that doesn't get answered, even though that would have wrapped up a dangling plot thread from a really long time ago where they disappeared into the Zone of Silence, and even though that would have made a much better story than this bare-bones emptiness. This issue is by Ian Flynn, and it's basically the point where Antoine was killed off. Sure, he's only in a coma, but Flynn never bothers to write him waking up at all, so... I mean, at least he's useless, so the heroes aren't missing anything. But even him being put in that situation was arbitrary. First off, Bunny should have been there watching his back since she was part of the backup with him. And she should have had an arm cannon strapped to her organic arm by now so she could actually fight. Because that somehow didn't happen, I can almost completely blame Rotor Tails or Uncle Chuck for not using their inventor talents like someone with common sense would. She didn't even have a laser shooting ray gun to distract Metal Sonic with. Sonic was at least held up with Metal Sally, and maybe he was worried that if he ran away from her, he'd never get another chance to defeat her so she could be reprogrammed, but he still should have logically run away at the speed of sound, humming attacked Metal Sonic away from the vehicle so it could explode at a safe distance, but then ran back to Metal Sally at the speed of sound, all in the span of just a few seconds. We don't see him being held so tightly that he can't get away, otherwise you'd think Metal Sally would have snapped his neck or something by now with that kind of advantage. Instead of running off to do his job, since he's proven multiple times that he's fast enough to do stuff like get to a picture before it gets taken. Instead of running off to do his job, he puts it up to one of his vastly inferior fighting friends to stop Metal freaking Sonic. And that's not even mentioning the fact that we've seen Jeffrey and Sonic get exploded on and they didn't even have to go to the hospital. But now suddenly the plot armor is gone because drama. With Metal Sally and Nicole being in a depression, wasn't the comic already dark enough? I'd be fine with all of this if it was properly resolved, but instead the plot threads are lazily left dangling, and it just ends the comic on a really dark and depressing note that's disrespectful to its legacy and history of 25 years, or however long it's been going on. As for the second story, it was a missed opportunity. It makes sense that it was Ixis who tipped Eggman off to Elias' family leaving, but while we learned that Robotnik was in the Zone of Silence doing stuff with Ixis, We never learned what he was doing at all, making that a complete waste of time. And Eggman wonders what happened to his egg grapes, which would have made a much better story than this. It felt so bare bones and empty. Why tell us Robotnik was in the Zone of Silence for so long if we never learned what he was even doing there? Next up is Sonic Universe issue 37, where Snively plans against Eggman and wastes our time because he's not allowed to actually take him down. Not unless they're going to replace him like Robotnik last time.